now you have had a chance to meet many of your childhood heroes. Who have you met that has had the greatest impact on your life?
I never really got to talk to him, but I find him a real inspiration as Lance Armstrong. And I've seen him sort of in passing, you know what I mean? So I've been in his presence, but I haven't really got to know him. But I think he's a real inspiration, you know. So I think probably as far as having inspired me, it'd be Lance Armstrong. And I guess I can kind of say I met him. I've been this close to him.
Okay, did you ever feel that the teachers in school treated you differently because you were a professional athlete?
No, not at all. Because they didn't see it as a legitimate professional sport. So, if anything, I got grief for it. I actually, I had a rough time during my senior year when I started getting a lot of travel opportunities, and I'd be gone, for a weekend to some big competition. I'd have to miss like the Friday or the Monday before or after. And they started, even though I was making up the work, just my absence alone was they would mark me down for it. So I wasn't getting a lot of leeway with that. I'd say maybe one of my teachers through my junior, senior year was understanding of it and was accepting of it, and the other ones were just like, "What are you doing?" I actually had a careers teacher yell at me, saying that I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And I can't just keep riding my skateboard.
Okay. You are obviously a pioneer of skateboarding. You basically by yourself brought the sport and lifestyle of skateboarding to the attention of all the people all over the world. What do you think about you that is so fascinating and demanding?
I don't know.
It's good.
No, I think. I've survived 2 generations of skating, so I have that sort of staying power that people in the 80s knew who I was, and then maybe now they have kids and their kids know who I am, so there's sort of this generation gap, and I never quit. But I was pretty successful in competing, and that has a lot of bearing in our sport. If you continue to stay on top of the competition circuit. But beyond that, video games. I can't deny that video games has really made my name more recognizable than I could ever imagine just through skating. And it was fun working on it.
Yeah.
Fun playing them.
Is it weird to have so many strangers know everything about you and idolize you? And how do you keep yourself from having a huge ego?
Well, I think just by that fact alone lets me not have a huge ego, that people know everything about me and they know that I'm just as flawed as the next person, you know what I mean? So I don't try to project some other persona and do you know what I mean? I don't try to live under some facade of who I am, and so that makes it easier, you know what I mean? Instead of like, if you look at some like huge pop stars, they're so shrouded with who they really are and who they're trying to project and who they want you to accept. And I just couldn't live under that scrutiny. You know what I mean? So it's a little strange, though, for sure. Especially if people have read my book and stop me at the airport or whatever and start asking about really private details. It gets a little weird, but at the same time, I appreciate that they enjoy it. You know what I mean? And that somehow they're inspired by it.
There are some stereotypes in skateboarding, like that you have to be a punk or act in a certain alternative way. What are your feelings on this? Like, I'm a skateboarder and I'm not a punk or anything, so what are your feelings on this?
I think it really stems from the past. Skating has been sort of shunned and not accepted in the public eye, and so the people who were doing it were the ones that were doing it because they didn't really care what people thought.
Yeah.
And some were a little more flamboyant than others, like punk and different hairdos and whatever, and then they just associated that with skating and the sort of outlaw aspect because there was nowhere for them to go. So they went street skating. They went skating on private and public property, and people didn't really take to that very well. But they weren't providing facilities, so that's all they had. And I think skating is way more diverse now than it ever has been. So I don't think there's any sort of one type of person that fits the mold. You know what I mean? I think there's definitely a culture associated with our sport, but it doesn't mean that you have to look a certain way to be a skater.
Yeah. I know that in high school it was tough for you because skateboarding wasn't exactly like in. Even today, it can be pretty daunting to be rejected by peers. Was there a time in your life that you just wanted to fit in, even if it meant no more skateboarding?
Yeah, there was. I mean, when I first started skating, it was my way of fitting in because it was somewhat popular at the time, and all my friends were doing it, and I figured I can join them, skating. And then when I started improving at it and feeling like it was the one thing I was really excelling at, they all quit, and pretty much everyone quit, and I just stuck with it, and they all saw me as sort of a relic because it was like, you still skate? That's so, last year. And I just couldn't give it up, and I eventually sort of broke away from all my friends at that time, like my peers that went to the same school and lived in the same area, and I just hung out with people at the skate park.
Did you have any more friends in school?
Yeah, I had some friends, but my parents moved around through my high school years, so my only consistent factor with friends were the ones at the skate park. I literally changed high schools 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So, it was a little rough, but at the same time, I was used to being an outcast because I was a skater. So, to go to a new high school was no big deal. I didn't know anyone anyway.
I read your autobiography, and I learned that you played the violin once.
Yeah.
And you had to give it up for skateboarding, and I play the violin, so that
kind
of stood out to me. So, I was wondering, what other things about you do you think people would be surprised to learn about?
I guess that I'm such a computer geek that my friends rely on me for tech support. Literally, I'll get phone calls at random, how do I do this? How do I save this file? How do I print this? How do I change, and sometimes they don't realize that I'm in Australia at the time, and they're calling my cell phone for, something they can ask some computer guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I miss the violin, actually. I literally did give it up for skating because I felt like I could only have one extracurricular activity at the time that I could focus on, and I felt like my skating was improving faster than my violin skills. But I just recently got a new violin,
Really?
and so I'm going to try to take it up again. Yeah, it might be a little late, but it's still fun.
Okay, I was looking at your book and I saw pictures of your sons, and they're so cute. They're so adorable.
Thanks.
So I was wondering, what important lessons have you learned from your children?
The most important lesson I learned was that skateboarding is not the only thing. It's not the most important thing, and to just be interested. To really enjoy what they're doing, but not just on a recognition level, but actually understand it and participate in it, whatever it is, whatever they're into. Not try to direct them too much. But that's probably the most fun for me, is to really know what their interests are and to know everything about it. Because if you're just a dad that's like, oh, that's great, nice, all right, good work, and you don't even understand it, you're not truly appreciating what they're getting into.
I played baseball a lot, and a lot of kids before the game will just do a special routine, they'll run into center field to do something. Is there anything you do, any good luck that you do before?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. I put everything left first. I put on my knee pads. Everything's left to right, left to right. I think that might be more OCD than a good luck thing, But I don't really have. I used to have a certain warm up run that I had to do, a certain sequence of tricks for my first run, and I just stopped relying on it because I was too focused on it. If I didn't do it right, if it didn't feel right, then I thought the rest of the day was shot, and that was really not working for me. So I don't do that anymore. I have a lot of friends though who skate vert, who wear full pads, and they always put their helmet on first, and that's their good luck thing. I don't know, or maybe they're just afraid that something's gonna fall on them while they're getting ready.
My first time facing 90 miles an hour pitching, I was shaking when I got in that batter's box.
Oh,
I don't get if I ever went as high and as far in the air without any net, I definitely would be very scared. Do you have any fear of just getting hurt or falling?
There's always a fear of getting hurt, but like I said, I try to approach it all with confidence. So if I set a goal, there's some big ramp or whatever it is, and I don't go at it just thinking, boy, I hope this works. I go at it thinking I can do this. And so I try to suppress the fear. You know what I mean? But there's still always, I also sometimes have this habit of imagining worst case scenarios for tricks or for, big errors and stuff like that, which is probably the worst thing you can do. But if I think about it, like, what's the worst that can happen right here? Okay, I can live through that. You know what I mean? And anything else is like not quite as bad, and that's okay. So maybe I set myself up for the ultimate failure or the ultimate success.
Has it ever been tough to be great friends with a group of guys and then have to compete against them? I mean, I know I play against some of my friends, and a lot of times it's just like a laughing matter, but other times it gets very serious.
It's never too serious with us, and in our sport, it's very subjective to, your style and the art, and it's like, if you do your best and your buddy does your best, it's up to whoever thinks that, your art is cooler. And so there's nothing you can really do about that. You know what I mean? So it's not like there's a definitive winner where they scored the highest or they went the fastest. And so it's a lot easier to be friends with your rivals in our sport, because it's all a matter of who thinks you were the coolest that day. It's not a matter of like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to tackle that dude. So it's pretty easy. There's not a lot of animosity in our sport. I try, and we all do shows together all the time too.
I know you have a large skateboarding aspect of you, but how did you become so business savvy?
It's just what I learned in skating. It's just about keeping it true to what I do and keeping it true to the sport. And so any marketing that I do, any endorsements, I just make sure that the focus of it is the skating, and that the skating has integrity. Instead of just blowing it out and making a quick buck. Like,
right.
It's sort of like I use all these big companies' marketing dollars to advertise skateboarding. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of using skateboarding to advertise their stuff, it's like, well, their audience is, you know what I mean? Their marketing dollars can reach so much further. And if we just show quality skating that's exciting, maybe someone in wherever, Illinois, has never seen it before, they get excited and they go try to skate.
You knew that skateboarding was your thing from a very young age. As for the rest of us, we're not so lucky. Most teens have no clue about what they want to do with their lives. What advice would you have for someone who's trying to still decide what they want to do?
Gosh, I think just test the waters, see what suits you, see what skills you have and what you enjoy doing, and see if there's anything that fits all of that criteria. I'm more in a unique position because when I started skating, when I turned professional, it wasn't really a career option. There was no money in it, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't like I said, well, I'm just going to go take my skating, even though I was ranked #1, I wasn't making a living at it. So I just figured I had to do something else. And really I was more focused on computers, so I figured at some point I had to make that decision and probably go into computers, video editing or web design or something. Which I still love. So, had I not skated, that's probably what I would have gone into. But I think you just got to find what really interests you and keeps you excited, and not something you feel like you have to do.
Okay, if you spoke at a high school commencement, what is the most important message you would convey to the graduates?
The most important message, I think, is believe in yourself, and go out, whatever goals or whatever your aspirations are, go at them with confidence. Because if you go at them and you're just sort of half-heartedly trying because someone thinks you should, then you're not going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And it's just more about saying, okay, I can do this. I have the resources, I have the experience, and this is on. I mean, that's loosely my philosophy in skating. Is I don't really try something unless I am already convinced I can do it. I'm sure there's many other philosophical ramblings you could go on and on with commencement speeches, but that's probably my message, because I didn't go to college, so had to rely on much of what I learned in high school, obviously, but also my skating skills. I think it's great to get teenagers being really active and creating their own sort of project and magazine instead of just being told what to do. You know what I mean? I think it's great to be, I don't want to say self-sufficient, but proactive, where you're inspired to go write. You know what I mean? Instead of having someone tell you, you know, you have to write an essay on this. If you just go and do it and you get used to that sort of self-motivation, that's what people are looking for. You know, that's what the go-getters, so to speak, is the employers especially. They like people who just start doing stuff on their own accord instead of just being told what to do. I mean, that's what we look for in our companies. Absolutely, is people that are just, you know, have their own ideas and say or present them to us instead of just getting by.